I've already welcomed our live audience here, but welcome to our online audience. Welcome to the 2025 annual global meeting being streamed this year from Maratha. A warm welcome to everybody who's attending online. As of this afternoon, late this afternoon, we had over 2,000 registrations. We've had chat greetings online from South Korea, from Israel, from all over Europe. Was there anything else, Mr. Lambie, that you noticed? They're still coming in as far away as Queensland. So from all over the world, across multiple time zones. Now, we had planned to fill this 15 minutes prior to the streaming. We had planned to fill it with a short film on the history of Sydney, but we watched it last night and decided to actually commence the meeting with this film. It lasts around 5 minutes and it captures something of the material history of the school in Sydney. Immediately after the film, our speaker, Mr. Donald Lambie, will come up and begin his address. All right? Thank you very much.
In 2017, the school in Sydney celebrated its golden anniversary. It's now almost 60 years since the school was founded in Sydney in 1967. In the founding years, much emphasis was given to attention in physical work, and a remarkable range of activities developed, including illuminated manuscripts, lace making, dressmaking, spinning, weaving, and wood carving. Music and drama widened the scope further. For residentials, the school acquired a property at Mount Wilson in the Blue Mountains, 2 hours from Sydney. Much labour was needed to clear the site and to build. A large roof was bought from an amusement park, dismantled and re-erected at Mount Wilson, with a house on a concrete base beneath it. The school also bought a wool warehouse in the centre of Sydney, a 4-storey building which had fallen into disrepair, which was stripped by hand and fitted out with group rooms and halls. Architects and volunteer labour within the school performed all these feats. In 1985, John Colet School for Children was founded. The school now thrives as both an infant and primary school. In the late 1980s, Maratha, a beautiful heritage-listed Art Deco mansion with 4 acres of landscaped gardens in the northern suburbs of Sydney, was purchased with the proceeds from the sale of the city property. Maratha was built in 1941. It was named after a Bombala sheep station in southwestern New South Wales. Quite coincidentally, the name Maratha comes from the powerful Hindu warriors Marathas, from the region of Maharashtra, meaning the Great Kingdom. The building is noted for its unusual combination of Georgian Revival and Art Deco architectural styles, a grand scagliola staircase, and its significant Paul Sorensen designed gardens. Open garden and cultural events, symposiums and public performances of Shakespeare plays at Maratha have attracted the public, sometimes with their participation. After the purchase of Maratha, a suite of rooms was purchased in Elizabeth Street to continue offering classes in the centre of the city itself. In 2015, rooms were also purchased in Canberra, Australia's capital city, renovated and prepared for use by a devoted group of students. Like many schools around the world, Sydney offers a wide range of activities to encourage student participation to build a thriving philosophical community. The vision of the Sydney School of Practical Philosophy is of a world that recognises philosophy as a way of life. It continues its mission to engage and support an open-door volunteer community, providing tuition in practical philosophy, training in meditation, and guidance in selfless service.
A warm welcome to everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here in Sydney and meeting with people actually in Sydney and all around the world. I've come here from Wellington, where we had a really excellent week, and after this go to Brisbane and finally Melbourne before returning back to the UK. The film which we've seen gives a good indication of some of the history of the school here in Sydney, but what it doesn't show are the publications which have emanated from the school here, and these have been really excellent. And I'd just like to show you a little bit. I hope this comes out in camera. There are a few works on Advaita philosophy, some of them attributed to Adi Shankara, and these are less well-known works. And so they're not, until the publications here in Sydney, they were not easily available. So there's this, another one here, and then a third one. So these are all beautifully done, high quality publications. They've added greatly to the riches available in the school, and they've added greatly to the riches available in the world. There's another one on the subject of service and another one on the subject of leadership. So that's a great contribution that the school here in Sydney has made. The subject matter of this talk is hope. I used to have a tutor in the school many years ago who used to say, "Don't have a wishbone where your backbone should be." And the essence of this talk is to encourage us to have a backbone version of hope rather than a wishbone version of hope. Perhaps I can illustrate with a story about this. There's a lady in the school in London who was born in Ireland. When she was a young woman, she moved from Ireland to London, and for some reason thereafter, her mother didn't want anything to do with her. So there was no communication or contact from her mother at all, which was a very difficult experience for the woman concerned. This was well before the days of email and the like, but what she decided to do was each week she would write a letter to her mother, telling her what she was doing and giving her whatever news there might be. So she did this week in, week out, month in, month out, and indeed year in, year out. And during all of that time, she didn't receive any reply at all. So it must have been a very difficult experience for her, but eventually she did receive a reply. Eventually her mother did want to be in touch. And after that, the natural relationship between mother and daughter was restored. And I was impressed when I heard this story, because it must have been difficult to continue to write all that time without any response. And it was hope that kept her going. And it was hope that eventually came to fruition. But that hope would have been worthless if it was not accompanied by resolve, determination, and perseverance. Martin Luther King said, "We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope." We've got it up there. Here it is here. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. And the woman concerned must have suffered a lot of finite disappointment over the years, but ultimately it was overcome by infinite hope. There'll always be disappointments on the way, but as Martin Luther King said, hope gives us the capacity not to be overcome by them. So this is an illustration of the backbone variety of hope rather than the wishbone variety. Keep going. Don't lose infinite hope. I'd like to spend some time considering what one of the Upanishads has to say about hope. And I find the Upanishads fascinating because as often as not, when you first read them, they can seem rather remote, rather esoteric, perhaps inapplicable to the present day and age. But looking at them a little bit more closely, I often find that they contain something which is really valuable and apposite and helpful. So I'd like to spend some time considering an Upanishadic statement on the subject of hope. The Upanishads are extremely difficult to date, and suffice it to say that this particular Upanishad dates from the mists of time, if I can put it that way. Now, by way of background, when the pandemic came along, as you know, we had to close down all of our in-person groups, and we had to try to work out how to use something called Zoom. Fairly soon after the pandemic came, we were due in England to have a residential week together, which of course was impossible. Nevertheless, we decided that we would meet online, and it was the first time we'd tried anything like that. Now, I don't want to overstate it because there are many people in the world who suffer infinitely greater hardships than these, but nevertheless, at the time, it was something of a low moment. We were in lockdown, the economy was grinding to a halt, there didn't appear to be any resolution what was going to happen with this pandemic, so it was something of a low moment. Somehow or other, we came across this statement in the Upanishads on the subject of hope. And because of the circumstances, it took on an extra significance. And it gave us hope. It was good. So, what the Upanishad says is this. Wrong one. That's it. Hope is indeed greater than memory. With memory enthused by hope, we recite the mantras, perform the rites, wish for progeny and animals, wish for this world and the other world, meditate on hope. Anyone who meditates on hope as absolute, all his desires become enriched by hope, and his prayers become unfailing. Those who meditate on hope as absolute get freedom of movement as far as the range of hope extends. Now, that's about as esoteric as you can get in the Upanishads. So let's look at it together. I'm really pleased to have this opportunity to do so because it's the first time ever I've really considered this for and with a group. So let's see how we get on with it. The first statement is, hope is indeed greater than memory. Now, this implies that hope springs from memory. Memory is, if you like, it's a precondition. Hope isn't a fantasy. It's in some way based on memory of truth, in some way based on a memory of who we really are. It's a memory of something fine or something great. It's said that all the great teachers seek to do is to arouse the memory in their followers of who they are. They don't have to create something within their followers because the truth of who they are is within everyone. But it may have got covered, it may have got forgotten. The function of a teacher is to arouse the memory of what is there. The memory of it gives hope in a real sense. The individual begins to connect with his or her real strength. We may remember the story of the lion cub who found itself living amongst sheep. As it grew up, it thought it was a sheep, until one day a real lion came along and roared. The roar awakened the memory within the lion cub as to what it really was. The moral of the story is that we all, in truth, are lions. There's a similar story in the Bible, the prodigal son, who receives his inheritance, goes off to a far and strange land, and wastes his inheritance on riotous living. Somehow, the memory of his home is awakened, and the return journey begins. So it's interesting that the Upanishad, first of all, gives us this link between hope and memory. When in some way a deeper memory within us is awakened, it produces hope. It gives us a better outlook. Memory is of something in the past, and hope relates to the future. The great sage Adi Shankara said that he referred to the rope of hope. Rope of hope which binds together the past, present and future, and does so in a way that they can be harmonious. Without hope from the past, without hope, the past and the future lose touch with each other. Or if they are connected, it can be in a rather dismal way. We can hold grudges from the past, which produces a dismal future. But when the rope of hope binds together the memory of truth in some way to the present, it produces a better future. The Upanishad goes on, enthused by hope, the memory recites the mantras. So we'll consider the enthusiasm first of all. The hope that springs from memory gives enthusiasm. When we, as it were, are not ourselves, when the covers seem rather thick, there tends to be a lack of enthusiasm. Shakespeare said, "The native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er by the pale cast of thought." This describes a situation where our natural strength, the native hue, as he calls it, or colour of resolution, is made weak by such thoughts as doubts, anxiety, confusion, and the like. With memory of one's real self, in whatever way that might occur, there is a natural strength and enthusiasm. To give another example, I met fairly recently with a group of students who hadn't been in the school very long, a few terms, and one amongst them was a woman who worked as a prison guard in a woman's prison. What had happened is that a few local construction companies had offered their help in training bricklaying. So a number of these women prisoners were learning bricklaying. And the lady concerned who was telling this story was involved in organizing this course, so it was something close to her heart. And as it happened, one of the women inmates was due to be released the next day. And she'd been offered a job as a bricklayer, and she was full of hope and enthusiasm because it meant she had a job, she had an income. In a way, however, even more important, she had some self-respect, which made all the difference. Well, I assume it made all the difference. I don't know how it worked out, but it's reasonable to suppose that it worked out much better than it otherwise would have done. The enthusiasm is transformative. It means it's possible to move forward with courage, conviction, openness. So, with memory enthused by hope, we recite the mantras. Now, again, this is a somewhat esoteric phrase, but the word mantra here can be taken to signify any of the great teachings. It can be taken to signify wisdom in whatever form that might occur. Recites here can be taken to mean turns to, studies, takes account of. So recites the mantras, turns to wisdom. In the school, we refer to numerous great teachers of humanity, both Eastern and Western. It's an example of reciting the mantras, turning to the mantras, turning to wisdom. We begin right at the start with the practice, what would a wise person do now? Which is, as I say, akin to reciting the mantras, turning to wisdom. So with memory enthused by hope, we recite the mantras. Perform the rites. This is the next phrase. Yet again, this seems rather remote as far as we're concerned. But the essence of performing the rites is that actions are done with a sense of service. This is possible anywhere, everywhere. It starts with service to the person in front of you or the situation in front of you, but it can extend to something much greater. It can extend to the family, to the community, to the nation, indeed to the world as a whole. Any of our actions can be performed as a simple service. It helps us to escape from the world of what I like, what I don't like, what I want, what I don't want, and so on. It can turn our actions into something sacred. There's a lady in the school in London, and she was saying fairly recently, she's a mother of 6 children, 6 boys, so it's quite a handful. So her job, she described preparing dinner. Again, day in, day out, week in, week out, forever and ever. And occasionally, she said, this could be accompanied with a sense of frustration, not being appreciated, etc., etc. You can imagine the sort of idea. But mostly, she would feel that she was nourishing her family with good food. She was bringing them together so they could grow as a family and enjoy each other's company. And for her, this simple act of preparing food was a rite, and a sacred rite, something really beautiful. And it is something really beautiful. It's easy to sometimes have feelings of frustration or whatever, but when you look at it from another perspective, a simple thing like this takes on a very different color. Performs the rites also means fulfilling one's duties, one's responsibilities, not running away from them, not procrastinating or postponing them, but facing up to whatever situations or demands there may be, which one is responsible for. So it's quite a big phrase, performs the rites. I hope all this is making sense. Wishes for progeny and animals, wishes for this world and the other world. Progeny here signifies the family and longevity. Animals signifies wealth. This world signifies taking a place in the world, playing a good part in the world. The other world signifies the spiritual world, so that one's thoughts are not entirely materialistic. This world and the other world. A current Australian philosopher from here in Sydney, I wanted to put him in because he's here from Sydney, Roman Krznavic, wrote a book recently called The Good Ancestor. And the idea is that we should strive to be good ancestors for the generations to come, so that they will look back at us and be grateful for what we did, grateful for what we have left. We don't know these future generations, of course, but it's a nice idea. We can have a sense of responsibility and care for what comes after us. This is the other world. It's a similar idea to that expressed by the 18th century thinker Sir Edmund Burke. He said that society, the society we live in, is a kind of contract between the past generation, the present generation, us, and the future generation. So both of these formulations encourage us to have a bigger view than just ourselves, a bigger view than just the immediate situation. we can bind together past, present, and future in a good way. The Upanishad goes on, those who meditate on hope as absolute get freedom of movement as far as the range of hope extends. Hope gives enthusiasm, strength, and vitality, which all in turn give freedom. For example, we may well know the figure Helen Keller. She was an American born in 1880, and when she was just under 2 years of age, she contracted some illness, I'm not sure what, but it left her without the senses of sight and hearing. So a very considerable disability. And it's a remarkable story how there was a lady called Anne Sullivan who helped her, and how gradually, somehow or other, she was able to connect with the world, notwithstanding no sense of sight or hearing. And she ended up playing an enormously full and active and rich life. Have we got Helen Keller? She said, optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. And her life was certainly an illustration of just that. The Upanishad refers to freedom of movement. Lao Tzu said, as long as we have hope, we have direction, the energy to move, and the map to move by. The direction, the energy, and the map all combine to give us this freedom of movement. This is the idea put forward. Now, one of the statements that has inspired me for many years is from Sri Shantananda Saraswati. He is the sage whose wisdom inspired the school for many years and continues to inspire the school. He at one point said this, after work on any way, the way of action, the way of love or knowledge, is properly done, bliss arises from it. This gives encouragement and builds up hope for truth to manifest in its fullness. After work on any way is properly done, bliss arises from it. This gives encouragement and builds up hope for truth to manifest in its fullness. Now, in this context, I'd like to mention that we recently had a week at Waterperry, which is a schoolhouse in England, where all of the leaders from the schools from around the world came together. We had 40 school leaders. This meeting happens about every 6 years, and it was a really glorious occasion, full of light, love, and happiness. I was also pleased that we had quite a few new faces on this occasion from 6 years ago, and quite a few younger new faces. So I'm pleased to say that the age profile is going down, which is encouraging. We also had 35 volunteers from around the world to help run the event. And afterwards, one of them wrote this: the gifts I received were many and precious. It was a most profound experience in my spiritual journey. And it fulfilled a dream of mine, being in service in Waterperry. I appreciated every single moment. this week is written in my heart of hearts, which I think illustrates nicely the statement that I read from Sri Shantananda Saraswati. And the point I'd like to conclude with, arising from this, is that it is possible to hope for something better and to work to create something better. A number of people on the week, both from the school leaders and the people helping, said it was a bit like living in a golden age. And we can hope for and work for something of a golden age. It perhaps goes without saying that there are all kinds of conflicts and difficulties and problems in the world, and it would be possible to be a bit downcast or gloomy about all of those. But it's not compulsory to be downcast and gloomy. It is within our human capacity to create something better. When people come together with goodwill and in the light of some good knowledge, the golden age is immediate. It's not difficult. The work of the school is to help people get a sense of this. When we come together on residential events such as the one which is starting today, this becomes immediately obvious. But it's not confined to such events. It's possible anywhere, everywhere. And it's not exclusive. Anyone can experience this. So that's really what I wanted to speak about on this occasion. Hope.